Our friend Julie Kelly joins us right now. She is, of course, the author of Declassified on Substack, which we recommend you go read. And she's got a piece up at clayandbuck.com right now. Democrats versus the man who could get to the bottom of the Trump shooting. Julie, great to have you with us, as always.
Hey, Buck. Thanks so much for having me on.
Okay, so for a lot of people, yesterday's testimony on Capitol Hill, we had Senator Rand Paul on, and it was helpful because he gave us the most up-to-date timeline of the verified information. But even he knows there's no accountability. I mean, he agrees there's no accountability. There's no real change that feels like is underway. It feels like they're slow rolling this. But your piece here talks about a Trump-appointed Inspector General, Joseph Cuffari. Tell everybody about this DHS Inspector General and how you think this could play into finding out what really happened with that catastrophic Secret Service failure and the attempted assassination of Donald Trump.
So Joseph Cuffari was appointed by Donald Trump as the Inspector General for the Department of Homeland Security. Of course, the Secret Service is under the DHS, and he has been investigating multiple scandals at the DHS and Secret Service, including the events of January 6th. We're told, and my piece kind of details this, we are told that report has been on Alejandro Mayorkas' desk since April. He is refusing to release it, and he is, we think, because he's going to uncover, or at least tell the public finally, why all those text messages belonging to Secret Service officials, including Kim Cheadle, by the way, who resigned as head of the Secret Service last week, why were they deleted from the 5th and 6th of January 2021? They were deleted at the end of January 2021 under the Biden administration. This is something that Joseph Cuffari has been looking into, and we'll finally maybe find out why those were purged and what maybe they said. Also, the scandal of the pipe bomb outside of the DNC on January 6th. The Secret Service was there because, of course, Kamala Harris inexplicably left the Capitol and went to DNC headquarters. We're told a pipe bomb was planted the night before. We, as you know, reported about Secret Service agents not detecting it until about 1:07 that day and then evacuating her about 10 minutes later. So Mayorkas is refusing to make this public. I've also been told, Buck, that even if he does, there will be major pieces of it that are redacted. So this comes at a very inopportune time, not just for the Secret Service, but for Kamala Harris, who has never answered why she left the Capitol as a sitting U.S. Senator, by the way, on January 6th and went to the DNC. She's never discussed her near-death experience with this alleged pipe bomb, so this will raise questions for her at another inopportune time. But weirdly, Buck, the Democrats and the media have been going after Cuffari, trying to discredit him as these investigations are underway. So there's something really weird happening there. And they've stonewalled his investigation, now delaying the report, and even making threats now that his inquiries into July 13th, he's opened 2 investigations into the Secret Service, that they will stonewall him on those investigations as well. So that's why he must be doing something right if he's got all of these enemies working against him.
Well, in your piece, you say that they've been trying to remove him, which I can imagine even the dastardly Democrats know that removing an inspector general from within DHS who's looking at these sensitive areas would require a little bit of maneuvering. I mean, I'm not saying they won't just brute force kick him out if they can, but they're probably trying to find some justification to, if not remove him entirely, certainly to slow him down and make him less effective. But on specifically the attempted assassination of Trump, we had members of Congress up on Capitol Hill yesterday, right? It was a joint Senate committees that were questioning the now acting head of the Secret Service. But it feels a bit like we all know where this is going, especially if, I know, but Kamala Harris were to win this election, right? I mean, it feels like the chances of us getting the truth out of this are low regardless. But if Kamala wins the election, given the Democrats' proclivity for slow rolling and sidelining actual accountability, We're working against the clock here, Julie, in a few ways to get to the bottom of this.
We absolutely are. And I think that was the frustration expressed yesterday by Senator Paul, Senator Hawley, Senator Johnson, the Republican senators, because they are thinking the same what you just said. They can just run out the clock. Hopefully, Kamala Harris wins in their view. And then this will all be covered up, just like so much about January 6th was covered up. And we're just learning new things after Republicans took the House and Representative Barry Loudermilk, who's kind of uncovering all of this new material and footage that we've never seen before. So this is their hope. But look, Kim Cheadle and Ronald Rowe, who testified yesterday, who unbelievably conducted himself worse than Kim Cheadle did last week, they both were on protective services, the protective services detail on January 6th. Their text messages also are missing. So this should raise all sorts of red flags. And the comparisons, Buck. If we were told that people had weapons outside of the ellipse and they were walking around Washington, D.C. in that vicinity, as the J6 committee claims and other law enforcement officials, why did the Secret Service let Donald Trump take the stage at the ellipse on January 6th if he was in danger? If they had intelligence beforehand, days before, that there could be violence that day, why did they let the president speak outside? Sort of the same questions we're asking about July 13th that no one seems to really answer, certainly no one being held accountable at the Secret Service. So was it negligence, incompetence on both of those events, or was it something more sinister? And when you listen to these people testify, you see their ties to Democrats. Kim Cheadle and Ronald Rowe both tied to Joe Biden in a political capacity. So, you know, this is what makes Americans sort of nervous, thinking that there's something worse afoot here than just negligence and incompetence.
We're speaking of Julie Kelly, Declassified on Substack is where you can find her work day in and day out on this issue. And Julie, it's remarkable. Here we are. We're talking about. It's been a crazy summer in politics. There's no question about that. We've had the Joe Biden internal Democrat coup, shoving the old man out basically from running in this election after he said he would be defiantly. And I know you were part of Buck Island. It was sad. We thought it was Julie. We were so close. We were so close. I'm telling you, Biden. If you just didn't debate, he was going to make it all the way through. And I know people think that sounds crazy now, but that was the plan. Everybody was on board on the Democrat side for that plan. It's been an absolutely crazy summer. We aren't even talking anymore. Just in June, right, we got the Supreme Court to rule on presidential immunity, send it back down to the courts. Where are you on, as it's almost August here, is the Democrat lawfare campaign against Trump, for the purposes of this election, effectively neutralized, or are you still thinking that there could be something that pops up here to change the game before people cast their votes?
Well, I mean, we're still going to see what happens in Washington. Obviously, Judge Cannon ruled earlier this month that the appointment of Jack Smith is unconstitutional. That's being appealed, but those proceedings are over. She dismissed that classified documents indictment in Florida, so that's really going nowhere in the near term. But the Washington case, the January 6th indictment that Jack Smith brought in D.C. under Judge Tanya Chutkin, the Supreme Court basically kicked the immunity question back to her. She was the one who authored the groundbreaking historical opinion that former presidents can be held criminally liable for their conduct in office. The Supreme Court basically came back and created three different categories. If it's official acts, he is immune from prosecution. If it's outside, they sort of said this outer perimeter of their duties, then that would be up to the courts to decide. And of course, if it was in a personal capacity, he could be charged. This is going to be kicked back to her. So will she hold more hearings on this? She never did hold a hearing on this. She just authored her opinion, and that was that. Will she hold hearings and try to restart that indictment? I think she'll do whatever she possibly can. She's an Obama appointee. She has made visceral anti-Trump statements in court. in J6 proceedings. So she could restart that. So I'll keep an eye on that. That's really the only case that will be going anywhere. The Georgia case, of course, is on appeal for Fannie Willis's conflict. And then, we have the New York case. That sentencing is scheduled now for September. So for the most part, Buck, the lawfare is dead. It's hard to see anything of substance moving forward before the election. But, who knows what they'll come up with next. And even if Trump wins, the Washington proceedings, the Jack Smith, I don't think they're going to give that up until, 11:59 a.m. on January 20th, 2025. Even if he wins, I don't think that this DOJ will give up trying to prosecute him and put him on trial.
And what are your expectations for the New York City? I mean, there's this whole Kamala's the prosecutor to prosecute the case against the felon in the election thing. They're pushing that really hard. Technically, Trump was found guilty. We've talked about it at length. So everyone knows how you feel about it. I feel about it. I mean, the whole thing was absurd and a mockery of justice in every respect in New York City. But he's supposed to be sentenced in September. What do you think is going to happen there?
So this is Judge Juan Maran. This is the Alvin Bragg case, as you know and your listeners know. Based on the immunity ruling, Juan Maran, Trump was supposed to be sentenced earlier this month. He kicked that to September, so they kind of work out the immunity issue. I'm not really sure how the Supreme Court immunity decision will impact this case, but we'll see what the lawyers file in this. So will he sentence him to jail? Even supporters of this lawfare think that that's unlikely, that he will sentence him to any jail time for this record conviction. Even if he does, he won't be taken into immediate custody. They will give him a recording date. But, Juan Maran should be nowhere near this. I just filed this on my Substack this week. His daughter, Lauren, who runs this Democrat-tied consulting firm, she has raked in almost $13 million, Buck, since in the first 6 months of this year for her consulting firm, including $8 million from Adam Schiff. Her client list looks like a Trump enemies list. So, and this is almost double than what she made the same time in 2022 during the last general election cycle. So this has been very profitable for the Maran family. So I'm suspecting they might ask for another recusal motion based on how much money his daughter has made off of Juan Maran's openly helping the government get a conviction in that case.
Julie Kelly's going to stay on it, everybody. Go check her out at Declassified on Substack. You can subscribe. Julie, always good to have you on. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Buck.
Speaking of the truth, the time has a way of revealing it. $100,000 placed in a bank account in 2009, just 15 years ago, today only has a value of $70,000 in buying power. Think about that. Inflation and out-of-control government spending, it's the cause. Oh, the $35 trillion mark was just passed for a national debt? This just happened last 24 hours. $35 trillion. So your dollars are being eroded. This is just math. This is reality right now. But, the $100,000 that will be worth $70 today from 15 years ago if you put it in a bank, what would have happened if you had put that in gold? It'd be worth over twice that $100,000 investment. Double and then some. Look, you've got to make the call about how to protect the value of what you are earning. But investing some portion of your savings in gold is a smart way historically and over the long term to protect the value of your savings. Gold is easy to buy and easy to own. Whether you want it in your savings account, your 401k, your IRA, it's easy thanks to Birch Gold. And it's who we trust for gold purchases. For over 20 years, Birch Gold has helped Americans transition an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. To learn more, get a free info kit by texting my name Buck to 989898. Text Buck to 989898. That's right. Just text my name, BUCK, 989898. Claim your free, no obligation info kit on gold.